Okay, I guess all in person for first time in a while, unless we get any visitors online, but we will get started. Welcome to the April 14th meeting of the Conservation Commission. We have a quorum here. I guess, I don't know if everybody knows Melissa, so I guess we can all introduce ourselves, I guess, just to do roll call, and maybe it'll help. We're trying to do this with ACFC too, is we go around and say our names, then sometimes it can identify who is who by their voice. So then that might make it easier to identify which speaker is which, rather than speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, speaker 4.
But we have to say speaker, don't we
Yeah,
have
so
to say
well-
speaker 1 and then?
Well, it's already assigned, it's going to assign us numbers, so we don't know who is who. I think it will, if you say your name, then it will try to identify you.
Okay,
So I can start. I'm Sam Pratt. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission.
I'm Jeanette Malone. I'm Susanna. Melissa and I know each other. Hi.
I'm Kit Emery.
I'm Trevor Brooks.
Standard.
Melissa Warren.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Next up, appointing a timekeeper and a minutes taker. I can do time.
You guys, would somebody else do time? I mean, minutes?
I was gonna offer to, but I have never done it before, and I don't know how to do it when I also am like talking about something during the meeting. So if somebody can provide some guidance around that, then I can do it.
Yeah, basically, the way that we've been doing it is, you would take notes as we go, and then, yeah, during that section, we will have the recording to lean on as well. And so, yeah, they don't have to be super comprehensive. Basically, if you look at past, minutes as a model, the things that we do need to make sure that are definitely getting recorded are who is present here, members and non-members, as well as, who's was keeping time, who is taking minutes, any motions in the resulting votes. If it's unanimous, then you can just say unanimous. But if there's a split vote or abstentions or anything, then you need to make sure that you've recorded who voted in what ways. And then aside from that, basically what I like to do is I'll just grab the agenda from the town website, just copy the text and just paste it into like a text document, and then you already have a skeleton. So then rather than having to type out every single thing, you can just kind of take notes as you go. What you don't need to do is record every single thing that everyone said and everyone's opinions and all that. Generally speaking, you can summarize a 20-minute topic of discussion into a few sentences that basically has the general thrust of what was discussed and what the outcome was. And then, yeah, I mean, I will send you the transcript after the fact, and you can spend as much or as little time as you want using the transcript to clean up your notes. But I do want to try to continue to encourage folks to spend less time on minutes, because I know that multiple people have echoed that it's taken them hours to type up the minutes, and I really don't want people wasting their time on that. So I think if we hit a point where our minutes are so skeletal that they're not helpful, then maybe we'll have another discussion. But everyone's been, typing up really detailed minutes. And so I would say I'm just going to keep telling people to keep it simpler until we get to a point where it's where it needs to be. And then hopefully people will be like, oh yeah, this isn't so bad. I just have to type a little bit more during the meeting, and it takes me, 15 minutes to clean them up after the fact, and we're good. So, yeah, Susanna, if you wouldn't mind taking minutes for tonight.
Yeah.
And I think if it's done the way they had been done before, I think you'll find that it's a lot easier. I mean, there's titles already spelled out and they've already been turned into notes. This last time they just weren't.
Yeah, I'll ask Duncan about that.
I don't know why that was, so.
I'll keep an eye.
Yeah.
And if for whatever reason they don't look the right way, I'll ask Duncan if he can resend them, in like by topic or how they've been sent in the past.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't look at them that closely. I think whatever Duncan sent me, I just forwarded.
Yeah,
Usually I
yeah.
forward, like, there's the
Mhm.
email plus the attachments.
Right, so usually it's the recording and then there is the condensed notes, which makes it a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great. So with that, I guess we'll move on to additions or changes to the agenda. I did neglect to put one very small thing on the agenda that I would like to add, which is just a quick update on the farmers market tabling, which would be under C, upcoming. And that's, I'm assuming that you would still like to talk about that, Susanna.
Yeah,
I
just have a
apologize.
brief update.
Okay, cool. Great. Well, with that, I need to get my notes going too. 1 second, so I can get these timestamps properly recorded.
Sorry, who's the timekeeper?
I'm timekeeper.
Okay.
And we will move to the next item, which is reviewing RCC applications. So, yeah, I don't imagine this will take the full 20 minutes, but I figured we'll just go through one at a time, just in the order in the packet. We have Jeanette up first. I don't know if there's really much to say here because we all know you already. But I don't know if you have anything to say about reapplying, and then we can, unless anyone has anything specific to discuss, we can just vote to make a motion to approve your application. And
I'm really excited to join again, and I'm especially excited to get the rewilding projects further established and save our salamanders, and now we've got this RFP, and it's really satisfying. So, and I enjoy working with all of you. Thanks for considering me again.
of course. Does anyone have any questions? It feels kind of silly to be reviewing one of our peers versus somebody who hasn't been on the commission before, but it certainly should make it easy. But I guess, does anyone have any questions? Okay, I will assume no questions. So if somebody would like to make a motion to approve Jeanette's application.
I make a motion to approve Jeanette's application.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I guess I should, how many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So it's Bob.
So Bob, yeah, Bob does have a vote because we've got 7 on the committee.
Do I need to say that Kit made the motion and then Trevor seconded it?
Yes, you should. It's best practice to do it that way. I don't know if it's required, but that's always the way that I've seen it done.
Did Bob vote?
I did not hear if Bob.
Yes. Aye.
Hey, Bob.
He's got a hand up there.
That was a vote in the affirmative.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, so you can just say unanimously approved. I guess I didn't hear. Did you abstain or vote for your own application?
I don't think I can, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you can. So I guess you should note Jeanette abstains.
can.
Aye. You can vote for your own application? Okay, interesting. Well, either way, that's a resounding pass. So I will let Josh and Duncan know, and I believe that that is going to be appointments, I think, are on the 18th of May. It's the one where they just do a whole slew of them, so I don't think they're really going to interview people. I know usually when we have the sort of like ad hoc appointments that they'll ask questions of folks, but I think normally when they do it in May, it's just they just do them all right in a row. So I don't think you all need to attend unless you would like to. Next up, Kit, do you have anything?
I mean, I'm
Okay.
happy to be applying again, and I care deeply about our forests and our wildlife habitat and recreational spaces, and I want to continue ongoing initiatives to help support these activities these projects that we're doing.
Great.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, can I get a motion to approve Kit's application?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Jeanette made a motion. Second, okay. And all in favor of approving Kit's application, say aye.
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 Great. And then last but not least, welcome Melissa, who has also applied. And would you like to, I know you already introduced yourself, but if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in joining the commission.
I'm lived in Richmond about around 30 years, maybe more. I am very interested in conservation in our state and Richmond. And I have completed a 3-year term on Andrew's Community Forest Committee. I was involved in a lot of different projects on that committee and really enjoyed getting to know that forest a lot. I am coordinating the Green Up Day this year and very interested in many of the other projects that you guys are working on.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Melissa? Or comments?
No comments, just happy that you're here.
And thank you so much for last minute taking on Green Up Day.
Yes, it's
Yeah, I don't necessarily have any questions. I guess the only comments I have are that it was a pleasure working with you on the Andrews Community Forest Committee, and I really appreciate your work ethic and your attention to detail, especially in meetings. And I think that it's really helpful to have somebody who really seems to have their head wrapped around a lot of the rules about, I believe, were you one of the people that went to the open meeting law training? So like, I feel like you know a lot about like procedural stuff, which I'm getting a lot better at since I've sort of just had to, since becoming chair of 2 different committees, but I still make mistakes, and it's great to have somebody who knows a little bit about that stuff. So hopefully you can keep me honest and, bring up if you think there's anything procedural that we should be doing differently. I'd love to hear your feedback, in the moment, not necessarily right now, unless you have comments currently. Cool. Well, unless anybody has any other comments or questions, then we will hear a motion for Melissa's application.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, great. All in favor of approving Melissa's application to the Richmond Conservation Commission, say aye.
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 Great. Excellent. That was quick.
Awesome. You survived it.
was a grill.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it helps when you're familiar with the folks already, it's less questions. But yeah, so I will email all 3 of you, but I'm pretty sure that, it's the 18th of May when the select board will make appointments, but I will let them know that, RCC for all 3 applications has unanimously recommended that the select board approve your applications. Moving on to updates. So I kind of broke things out here into a couple different buckets. We've got stuff that's already in flight. So just updates on those things, and then we'll move on to upcoming events and whatnot. So first off, do you want to kick things off with an update on Save Our Salamanders, Jeanette?
It's going strong. We're on our 6th night going out. It's been busy. I think last year we only went out 4 times, maybe the entire season. I think what's really neat about this year is that we're honing in on the hottest crossing spots, and we're spending more time kind of doing laps and sweeps in those spots. So it feels like we're saving more lives. So I asked Katie to give me an update on the numbers, and we've saved about 450 so far, and the ratio of dead to alive is right now working out to be about 4 dead to 10. 4 out of 10 are not making it.
Okay.
So that means 60% off. And I think that's up from what we've done in the past, just because we're getting better at it. I'd love to hear from all of you who've been out there, if you have any thoughts or ideas, suggestions.
I would echo your sentiment about feeling like we're really honing in on the spots that have the most activity. I know the first couple of years, you started this 3 years ago, right? This is the 3rd season, or maybe you were doing it
3rd officially,
official season.
and then I think were you with us that year before when we were just sort of experimenting with it?
It could be.
Yeah, okay.
I don't recall, but I remember we had like the first official season was
Yeah.
like fairly busy, and then last year was much quieter, and then this year has been busy again. And I feel like the first year I was just learning the ropes. Last year there were very few opportunities to go out, but this year I feel like we pretty quickly, at least on Route 2, kind of narrowed down. It seems like we had these longer stretches. Like one was basically from that sharp curve before ACF all the way to sort of that flat by, Donkey Lane, where we had walked that whole thing. And now it's kind of just narrowed all the way down to just kind of between Locust Knoll Road and ACF or Maple Wind. And yeah, on Friday, Trevor and I helped 3 spotted salamanders cross there. And then, we had seen, I think, our total count, because we were with Brad, and then we kind of stopped by ACF on our way back because we saw some activity, and yeah, the total count was like 270 for the night.
Yeah.
So yeah, it feels good because it feels like we're gonna have better ratios, because if we really hone in on the spots that are the busiest, then we're doing less walking and we're doing more saving, because I'm sure as many folks have done this, it's like you walk to the end of the strip and then you come back and you see stuff dead from all the cars that have passed just in the time that took you to walk to the end. So I feel like the narrower our corridors, then the more good we'll do. So even though it's a little discouraging to see the dead ones, I feel like we're making a big impact. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, I've been trying to just be thinking about ways to not burn our volunteers out, because it is a lot to ask to go out there night after night with so many unpredictable factors. Like we thought it was going to rain tonight and people are out there, but it might not. And last night we thought we wouldn't see much, and then it started because it was supposed to be dry, but then it rained.
I know, we picked up,
So it's dealing with all of that and doing it all the time instead of like spreading the load and not over asking our volunteers to.
What I like, Jeanette, is the
What's that?
rotating from place to place. Like I did one section of Route 2.
Yeah.
And then I did another section of Route 2.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, I think it's helpful to rotate,
Yeah.
do different
How do
sections.
other people feel about that? Because I have kind of mixed feelings, because I know Huntington, you pick your post and then everyone knows. That's just.
Yeah,
And it just makes it a little bit easier to coordinate. But
yeah.
at the same time, I see the value of people switching spots. So I guess one thought to kind of have a win-win would be pick your post, but if you want to change, see who's at the other post and see if they'll swap with you, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly will go wherever we need to, but I do like
And
the
then there's
rotating.
that, because like sometimes,
Yeah,
it's like tonight was tricky because we're all here.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
okay, we have, kind of 3 zones on each road.
Yeah,
But really, we've narrowed it down now because we really don't have reliable, like volunteers who can really go out every time.
right.
So it's really like 2 zones that we're covering, and those people are covering big swaths, so I just, yeah. I think it's important that we're respectful of our volunteers' time.
Yeah, I think being considerate of burnout is good because yeah, it's like you can't go out if it's a really rainy week. You can't go out. Most people can't go out, 4 times in a week. Maybe twice
Right.
if they're feeling it. And I don't mind doing the same post, although I will say in past years, I think sometimes I feel like you kind of wonder, like, oh, I wonder what's going on, like at the other, on the other side of town. Because if you feel like especially if you hear like, oh, we had a great night, there was all this activity, stuff you haven't seen before, it can be easy to feel like a little bit jealous, like, oh, I wish I got to take part in that, that wave over there. So
Yep.
I think that is the upside to rotating, because then, folks end up kind of getting to experience,
Yeah.
the difference in just variety and.
And I think what we're saying is rotating on your end, so.
Yes,
you
yes,
can
yes.
Drive through the zone,
On
right?
west, yeah, west or east, I agree, not to drive through the zone.
But to swap Cochrane Road for,
Yeah, Route 2.
Route 2. And also now we've got this that's the other exciting thing is that Janet has been covering, the north end of Gillette Pond. And she's really enjoying that. But I know, Kit, like you really want to see spotted salamanders more. So
I do want to see Gillette, go up to Gillette
it'd be
Pond
great
one
if
time,
you joined
yeah.
Janet one night.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just because.
Because you're more
it's nice
likely to see them there than
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah, and I just think it's nice to see the different areas to,
Mhm.
I mean, next year we'll know all of the
Right.
areas, and I think that's important. And it was nice last night, we were able to see the hot spots, the 2 hot
Mhm.
spots on that section of Route 2, west. Yeah. So.
Great.
Comment and maybe concern. First, just fun comment. If you've never looked up and read about what the spotted salamanders are up to upon reaching the vernal pool, it's strange. You should read about it. Really recommend Mary Holland's blog. She wrote the book Naturally Curious.
Yeah.
But she writes a great blog. It's phenological. So it's the post you're reading is always about that time of year that we're in. But there's also an index. So you just look up any creature and like see all the posts she's made about them over the years. And it's one of the strangest, like almost you wouldn't tell a kid. It's they're having fun. I play basketball very early on Tuesday mornings, and this morning on my way to MMU, barely saw a jogger in the dusk twilight at the last second. She had a light on, but it was pointed only forward. And when we were out on Route 2, at one point, we were all like kneeling right between the road and the guardrail, and a car still going 55 like feet from us. Just that reminder of like more lights the better. If we ever saw an opportunity for funding, I would feel better having like one of the fancy jogger vests that has like full on like light up LED striping. So
Yeah.
with our successes this year,
Yeah.
if you ever want to apply for funding, I'd be happy to help. Imagine if we could hand out 10 of those so that everyone, at least one person is like super visible.
Yeah.
I think that would be a
Agreed.
good thing to consider for next year is
Yeah.
I mean, we only asked for $100 this year, and it's been such a successful program that I think that it would be great to have a bit more equipment, especially, safety.
Katie mentioned to me that where she works, there's grants available now
Oh, wow.
for this kind of work. So
Right on
I
time.
told her, she just told me last minute, so I told her I would talk to her and I can come back to you all, talk about it in May. Find out, I'll learn more and report to you what I learned. But I think that's a great idea. Thank you for that.
And there are some really good bright headlamps out there too.
Some
That
people put them on the back.
I do too. I put them on the back, but I didn't this time, but I usually put 2 on, one on the back, one on the front.
Those wands? I'm
Yeah,
noticing
those really
slow
were.
People down.
Yeah, wands are the best. I feel like we associate it with like construction or like official
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Whereas
Do you have one?
I don't.
So some of us have them. Oh, you didn't come to the training. They're great. We got to get some more wands.
Okay.
I'm noticing a big difference.
And because single headlamps it can be just a trick in people's headlights.
Mhm.
Yeah, you still might not see it the last second compared to
Yeah.
like colors and, yeah.
The nice thing with the wands too is,
They can flash, so you can have it on just glowing, but
Yeah.
then when you see someone really moving
Yeah.
along, you can turn on the flash.
Yeah, cool.
And just do a little like, I'm here.
they also have the belt clips too, which is nice, because I find that I always have a shortage of hands, and it's something that maybe we can consider for a future year is, those little retractable things that people have their work badges on.
Mhm.
I think because we have the little clip on the end of the spatula, I'm always finding that I'm having to shuffle the spatula around because, you've got your flashlight, which normally is like, if you're sort of like trying to rake the light across the road to see anything low, you've got your flashlight, you've got your spatula. I also have tied a string around my notepad so that I can hang it on my neck.
Oh,
And then you've got your
nice.
pencil and you've got your notepad. It's just, there's so many things that if we have those little zippy like belt things, then they can't cost that much. And then that way you don't have to always be holding your spatula, you can basically let go of it as soon as you're done. And then that might be helpful, because if we are thinking about safety, I think that the more things people are keeping track of, like sort of the more clumsy you are and the slower your reaction time. So that might be just one less thing for people to worry about. So I don't know, something to consider for a future year.
Really good point.
So ideally, yeah, like in the application, when it says like 12 picks
Mhm.
in this little tackle box,
Mhm.
make an inventory of each one that has these things in it, sound it out, make sure all those things go back in it.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of that stuff already, so it'd be kind of just maybe topping off the ones that we have, and then maybe buying a few little additions for the ones, for the ones that we have. Plus, if we're trying to, if we need a couple more, depending on volunteers. So
That was good.
cool. Well, we should move on to the next items because we got a number of updates. So the next ones are pretty quick, and I guess I'll handle all three of them. So last meeting we talked about joining the Association of Vermont Conservation Commissions. That was approved by the select board. It did not come out of the CRF because it's kind of not CRF fundable. Like the CRF has, criteria, and it kind of made more sense to come out of, I think there were like membership fees. There's like a line item in the town budget for that. So that was approved. Although I need to follow up with Josh on that because I don't think we're members yet, but it has been approved. So that's good news. Next up, the banner that we talked about was also approved. I had this idea and have been working with Josh and Duncan on it. One holdup is the image assets that they have are kind of small, and I'm a little concerned that if we try to blow them up to a banner size, they're going to be very blurry. So we were trying to work to get, high quality image assets. I don't know if we can like upscale them or like, I think there was an old town logo and some stuff got kind of like, lost in the shuffle. So that's one thing. The other thing that we decided was it might make more sense to have sort of like a stock Richmond town banner and then either like a conservation commission, like smaller banner, or, like something you could like Velcro onto the main banner. So that way we basically have a reusable banner for other groups in town, because right now we're only going to really plan to use it maybe 4 times a year, like at farmers market tabling, maybe if we host an event at the library or somewhere else, then we can use it. But otherwise it's just sitting in a closet. And so Duncan seemed to like Josh, I think it was Josh, seemed to like the idea that we have sort of like either a big banner, small banner, or a big banner with a way to sort of attach, whatever committee or commission or group or like subgroup that is being represented. So I'll keep you all updated on that. If anyone is like interested in, banner printing or any of that stuff, let me know. Because ultimately I think what's going to happen is once we decide on how to proceed, we'll need to, interact with some printing company in the area and get that stuff, at least get like a quote, and then I'll have to interact with Josh on how to get that created. So that's that. I'm not going to go into the details on this, but I did send it out to everybody. We did hear back from Vermont on the wetland rule filing. So if you all recall, I believe it was in February, or maybe it was January that we talked about this stuff, and you basically came up with a statement on behalf of the Richmond Conservation Commission.
That Bob wrote.
Yes, that Bob wrote, and then other folks weighed in on, and so that got sent, and so I got a reply back from them since I sent it on behalf of the committee, and there are some updates that they're making because of all the feedback that they got. There is still, I can pull up the email, but there's still, I don't know if there's any like feedback left you can give, but you can basically track the changes. So if you check your email inbox, you'll see that for me and you can read up on it. I don't think there's anything actionable, but I can double check. And if so, I'll let you all know.
Discussion about suing over it.
What's that?
There's discussions about suing the state over the rule change.
Oh, okay. I was not aware of that.
Groups of people you're in.
Okay.
So that's, I think, what would be the next step is people oppose the modified rules based on the comments.
Gotcha. So they're going to come out with the modified rules, and then people are basically threatening to sue on top of the modified rules.
If it doesn't like follow state statute, violates other state rules, because these are, I think, administrative rules, which are not statute rules, but they have to follow the statute in order to be legal. I think that's what people are talking about, but nothing's finalized, so that's not really gone anywhere yet. But
Okay. Well, I guess if you hear anything, it'd be interesting to know what's going on there. So feel free to, I'll remind folks, like, because of open meeting law, we can't have, active discussion via email with, a quorum or more, but you people can send out to the committee, interesting things that they think other commissioners should know about. So if you have something you'd like to share, that you think is relevant, feel free to send it out to the group. Just don't reply all with discussion. You can reply individually to the person, and that's fine. Okay, so for ACFC, quick update. I am fairly confident that next meeting we will make a motion to approve the updated version of the management plan. So that's in 13 days. I believe we're on track to wrap it up. We need to do a little bit of work with the select board to make sure that we're following what their vision is for like next steps. What I can say is as soon as we have approved that version, it's going to get sent out to the chairs of RCC, me, and the chair of RTC, and it'll also go out to Josh, and he'll kick it over to the select board. So basically that sort of like first version that we've talked about in the past is going to get released for review. So then that will be, when I send it out to you all, I will be asking you to take a look at it and, provide any feedback. And then what we'll do is I'm hoping that the commission's going to have at least a month, if not like somewhere between like 4 and 8 weeks, hopefully to review, so that people have time to read it, make comments, and then we can discuss it as a group, and we can talk about the things that we think might need to be updated from a conservation perspective, what we like, what we don't like, and then we can basically as a group, vote to basically submit a set of comments on behalf of the Conservation Commission. That will go back to ACFC. At the same time, the Trails Commission will do that, and the Select Board will do that. While that's happening, we're going to be doing just one final polish for like spelling and grammar and formatting to make sure that all looks good. So the main content of the plan won't change. Then that feedback is going to get integrated. And then it's sort of, I think at that point, going to go out for public comment, assuming that's what the select board would like us to do. So stay tuned. I don't have much to share aside from that, but it's coming soon, and it's hard to believe because it's been forever. But
How long has it been?
probably more. I guess it'll be, I think, 3 years this summer. I think it was 2023 where there was like that sort of upheaval where half the committee quit, and some of the laws governing ACFC changed, and then it kind of kicked off this new set of revisions. So it's been, I guess, about 2.5 years, which is a long time, but we're feeling pretty good about it. I think we found good compromise. I guess we'll see based on the feedback that we get from this commission and the Trails Committee and the Select Board, and then of course once the town weighs in on it as well. So, yeah, we'll see. But I'm glad that we're almost done with it. I mean, knock on wood, because we'll see how much we have to change based on the feedback. But at least I feel like the internal debates are done. So yeah.
Could I say something?
Please, yeah.
I watched a lot of the meetings on video, and you're doing such a commendable job facilitating a really, really challenging situation. And I just want to appreciate you for that.
Thank you. I mean, there are a lot of really hardworking folks on the committee, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like I owe it to the committee. Like I feel like there's just been a real shift in I don't know, people have just put in a lot of hours, and like I know people have had to work out some differences, and it's like I don't know, I've just been really pleased with folks like as a whole, because I feel like I can't really take much credit. There are folks
But
that
it's
are
been impressive how methodical you've been
thank you.
to do something that's really hard to do as a group, to be editing one document together. I don't know how you pulled it off, but
It took a while. We have a lot of really slow meetings where I think we all just kind of fussed around with our own versions of the document and didn't really know what we were doing, and then finally realized we should just live edit this together with one person driving and everybody else looking on. So if we end up doing that, and we may, I'm not sure if it'll be tonight or next meeting, if we're doing that for stuff like making changes to, RFPs or other documents, like we kind of have precedent for it now, and it's really not that hard. The main trick is you can only really do that like group editing at a meeting, because if you share a Google Doc and everyone has access to the same doc and they're all contributing, that's a opening meeting law violation. So you can only work on that in like sub-forum groups. But then the full commission or committee group setting is where, you have a warm meeting and you can all collaborate together. So, but yeah, I appreciate it. I think we've figured out how to collaborate pretty well on that committee, and it feels good. And it's, I'm hoping that we're not like isolated and like fooling ourselves into thinking that this is like that everyone's gonna love it as much as we think they are, because we haven't really gotten a lot of feedback. There hasn't been a lot of like public attendance for the meeting. So I know some people track the meeting minutes and the attachments and watch the videos, but once we open it up for public comment, I think is where we're going to get the real like raw, comments from people. So we'll see how it goes.
What's in the chat?
Oh, I think that was a comment about salamander FOMO. Me mentioning
Okay.
me mentioning that wanting to rotate locations to see what amphibians were hopping around at other locations.
I just got a procedural question.
Sure, yeah.
How cordoned off are these two committees from one another? Does the RCC have opinions about what happens in ACF? Does it try to be involved at all? Or does it feel like let ACF folks work? We stay out of it.
It's not, so we've talked about this before. The way that the ACFC is designed is there are 2 seats for the recreation interest and there are 2 seats for the conservation interest. So there's a recommendation seat and there's a representative seat. I am the representative of RCC to ACFC, which is kind of bizarre now that I'm the chair of both, or like co-chair of ACFC and the chair of this committee or commission. And then there's also another seat, Brad Elliott is the recommendation. And then for trails, the representative has been vacant for some time and about a year now. And then there's a recommendation, which has been Jim Cochran is in that role. So basically, folks can always weigh in, as individuals, but then also like it was sort of designed so that both the, recreation interest in the community and the conservation interest in the community would have a means of, submitting feedback, which is why I try to do these updates to let folks know, what's going on with ACFC. That said, there was sort of like a, I guess like, informal request that while ACFC was working on this draft of the management plan, because there were so many cooks in the kitchen, to kind of let the committee, do its work and then produce something that then would be soliciting advice on or in comments on. So we are about to hit that stage where ACFC is actively soliciting advice from this commission as well as the Trails Committee and as well as the Select Board.
Okay.
So yeah, so if you have anything that you do or don't like about the management plan, in the next couple of months will be a great time to read it and to weigh in on it, and we'll discuss it as a committee and basically hopefully come to an agreement on like what we think is good and what we think might. We don't necessarily have to pass that along. We could just say, in like a sentence, like, here's what we like about it. But then if there's any specific sections that we don't like, then hopefully we come to an agreement on what we don't like and what we would change, and we can pass that on. And ACFC is going to have to figure out how to weigh all of the feedback from this commission, as well as all of the feedback from the Trails Committee, and at the same time, any recommendations that the Select Board is going to make. And then that will all get integrated, hopefully, in a relatively short period of time. And then it'll go back out with sort of like the final version, hopefully, that then will be open to public comment. So then that's kind of what we need to get advice from the Select Board on, is what do they want that process to look like? Because it's been so long, and we have tried to integrate the feedback that we've gotten, from various members of the public, that I think that it would not be great if we tried to push forward without opening things back up for public feedback. But at the same time, it's worth mentioning that we can't have an infinite feedback loop either, where you get public feedback, you make a bunch of changes. Like if we get a bunch of public feedback, we can't do another 2-year revision of the management plan. They'll never be done. So I'm hoping that the Select Board will have some opinions on, now that we're at the very end of this road, hopefully. I think that the picture is becoming more clear, and hopefully the Select Board will have guidance on how they would like to see things proceed. Because before, it was still a bit nebulous about like, well, like, how about you get us a plan first and then we'll talk. And now we have the plan, and so hopefully we'll know what the path forward is. So I think that the most successful setting for that type of like public feedback would probably be a Select Board meeting, where the Select Board is running the meeting, and then ACFC is there, to represent the work, and that way it's sort of, I guess, moderated. But we'll see if that's what the Select Board wants to do, or if they have other ideas.
So it's worth it for us, or we're even being tasked with start tuning into it once this thing comes out.
Yeah, and it's like, exactly. Like I would encourage folks to read the management plan. I mean, it is dozens of pages, but it's, I don't know, we tried to make it's dozens of pages, if you're reading all the appendices, which I think are helpful and help show why we made the choices that we made. We really tried our best to try to minimize the amount of introductory stuff and to really just get into the objectives and actions in the actual like body of the plan. And then if you want to know more, you can read about the cultural history and like the ecology and like the governance and all that stuff. And so it's meant to be sort of like an instruction manual for the committee and the town, and like, and even like visitors and whatnot. And if you want to know, well, why did they make all these decisions? Then you can continue to read into the appendices and see like, oh yeah, this is backed by this scientific study, or this, that or the other thing.
Just got one more follow-up that feel relevant to how we would read it. Is the plan for the ACFC to always exist, or does that dissolve and we feel like the natural body who would be keeping an eye on that place and responsible for it? Or will there always be an Andrews Forest Committee?
I'm not aware of any plans to disband the ACFC, but
Okay.
If the Select Board decided it was no longer necessary, or if things got to a point where there was so little for it to do and there was so little interest in the community that there weren't even, seats filled enough to have a quorum, that maybe the Select Board would make a decision that like, hey, this can just be managed by RCC and or Trails Committee or something like that. But I'm not aware of any intention for that body to go away. I think there will be plenty to do once the management plan's done, education opportunities, wildlife monitoring, trail improvements and, developments and whatnot. And And so yeah, I think there will be lots to do and people will wanna, it'll be hopefully a lot more fun to be on that committee because we'll actually be getting stuff done, like in the forest and just spending less time in front of a computer writing out, you know, a management plan.
I think it's a good question because I think a lot of our interests are gonna merge when we get to that point. There's gonna be a lot of overlap. And, you know, most towns in Vermont, who have a town forest, it oftentimes managed by the Conservation Commission. So maybe that's why you were wondering if that's what this group was headed.
Thanks for that background.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess with that, we'll move on. I'm glad we were ahead because I think now we're a little bit behind, but we'll make it work. So yeah, upcoming events. Melissa, would you like to give us a little spiel on Green Up Day?
Sure. Well, Green Up Day is just a little over 2 weeks away. So very exciting. Signups are live and going well. There's 2 ways to sign up this year. You can sign up on the sheet in the town hall entranceway, and there's a map there where we're trying to have people. And if you signed up if you signed up on town meeting day, I think both of you did, and you indicated a section of a road, I transferred yours to that and drew on the map for you your section that you indicated you wanted to do. The other way to sign up is online. There's an app, the Green Up Vermont app, that you can use. It's a very basic app, so I think it will create a little bit of work trying to merge the 2 signups. Just because if you sign up, unless you indicate that you're from Richmond in your name, it's hard to know. It's just the whole state all thrown together. So I've caught a couple that are Richmond, and we'll transfer those onto our map as well. You can drop a pin on the app if you sign up that way, but you can't, you know, it's not as good as this map where you can draw your line, like I'm going from Dugway Road to, you know, X, whatever. Let's see, there are a lot of bags down there now. Social media posts have been made. Front Porch Forum posts have been made. They're adding some new things this year. I think they did this last year. I'm not sure if they did it at Stone Corral. There's a Kentucky Derby party that is also an after party for Green Up Day. So you can make a hat out of recycled and repurposed stuff that's a Kentucky Derby hat and compete for prizes down at Stone Corral after you're done cleaning up.
They're making the hats there at Stone Corral, or you bring it with you. Okay.
Things and then come to the Derby party with your hat.
Okay.
And you can win a prize. They're running a social media contest on Facebook for different categories, like weirdest location that you found in something for Green Day. You tag them, you can win a pair of, and they pick you, you can wear a pair of Vermont work gloves. They look really fancy, like nice leather gloves. So trying to add some newer social media presence. Let's see. We might run out of bags. I don't know. Came on after the bags were ordered. Those are ordered way back. So we'll see what happens. Couple people have reached out to me about bringing bags to the town garage. So they are going to come around. The town road crew will come around as they always do, but they're asking that if people are able to bring their bags to the town garage themselves, because they're volunteering their time as well. So it's a lot to pick up everything like that Saturday when they're done. I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions, if you can come bring up, that's really great.
I have a couple quick questions. One, is there a recommended number of bags to take for, per person or per stretch of road? Or
It's a self-monitor.
got it.
And then if you do sign up downstairs, in the entryway, if you can swing back when you're done and write down how many bags you actually picked up. That is helping the state, because what they're doing is, I guess they use an average weight of a Green Up bag to calculate the tons of garbage picked up for the entire state. So they're doing that by using the number of bags as a calculation point. There's a way to also do that on the app if you decide to use the app. You can put down how many bags, although I'm not sure how, I'll have to see if I can ferret out every single person that's a Richmond person from the app to find how many bags those were. So I'm just asking people to come here if they can and write down the number of bags that they've collected. I think it's a pretty good estimate of a calculation. It's not an exact calculation.
And the other question was, yeah, I was just walking on Jericho Road the other day, which is what I signed up to clean up. And I'm curious, it didn't seem like as dirty as I was expecting it to be. And so, if I've signed up for a stretch and, it's done and I have more time, what would you recommend? Like look at the Green Update app and just see like, is there a section of road that's like unclaimed, or is there a
Hard to look at the app, and the
okay.
app is like super basic and a little more. The team, it's kind of team oriented for signing up for teams, so you can drop pins and you can see where people have dropped pins, but you would have to kind of go through each individual sign up for Richmond to see where pins are dropped on there. So it might be easier to look at the snap.
Okay. Yeah, so just snap a photo of maybe the nap in the
there's
lobby, and then
something that's undone, it's a little closer to the day, or just go. I think a lot of people do that. They just go. So
I have noticed there's a lot of trash on Route 2. Having walked it slowly back and forth a few times in the past week for Save Our Salamanders, it's like, took a picture of a salamander, a foot away from a four-logo can. It's like trying to tell Brad the other day, like, just worry about the salamanders today. He was trying to pick up trash too. I was like, we don't have enough hands for this right now.
A lot to do in those ditches.
I know.
You got the invasives, the amphibians.
I know. It's crazy.
of course, everywhere I drive, I'm seeing garbage everywhere. So
Mhm.
garbage.
Yeah.
But yes, I think everything's set to run. So
Great. Well, thank you for the update. Next up, I've got ReWild early detection projects. Jeanette, did you have?
I'll keep it really quick. This is the time to start keeping your eyes out while we're speaking of looking for trash. Look for small patches of early detected invasives, so that we can ideally figure out who's living closest to them and enlist them to be neighborhood leaders. And this is something that kind of falls into that smaller bucket of invasive management in town versus the larger projects that we're pursuing getting professional help with. I know I've found a couple of really great starter early detection projects in the Southview neighborhood and Hidden Pines. Sam, you can speak to what you found in your neighborhood. I think, if each one of us is sort of looking in our own vicinity for starters, that's the low hanging fruit. Maybe we can start there to get some more neighborhood projects going this year.
Yep. Yeah, be on the lookout for garlic mustard. It's already starting to pop out. I've already found some.
So as far as what are the steps we'll take to organize those? Maybe we can just revisit that in May.
Okay.
But for now, just get our eyes out, do the detective work, and see what you can find, and maybe think of other neighbors that, near you who also would like to collaborate and work on various problems.
Great, thank you. Quick reminder, on Saturday, there is the Rodenticide event that Bob Galvin applied for CRF funding for a few months ago. So there's going to be some live birds in the library, I think like hawks and owls. So education event to learn more about rodenticide and why it's bad and you shouldn't use it because it also harms birds and whatnot. So that's on the 18th. So that's this Saturday from noon to 1 at the library. I will be out of town and I'm sad that I cannot attend, but it'll probably be a fun time. And
Is it Vin's coming?
yeah, Vin's is coming with birds. And many of us know Bob from his time on the Conservation Commission here, so you'll see at least one friendly face. And Susanna, did you want to give us a quick update on farmers market tabling?
Yeah, so hold on one second. I emailed back and forth with the farmer's market manager and she said they accept applications on a rolling basis, so there's no deadline. And that there's no fee for a community or nonprofit booth. Community booths are normally limited to 2 dates per year, but sometimes they allow more for certain projects. They can also offer more dates sometimes if folks can offer something engaging, like a kid's activity or something like that. So basically we can apply whenever and do 2 or more dates.
Okay. It sounds like if we're not doing something engaging, they would limit it to 2 though, right?
I think they would be open to more depending on how much space they have,
Yeah,
but they would be like more open.
gotcha.
At something like that.
I think we landed on about 2 dates for this coming year anyway. So that's seems like an alignment. And I guess if we plan something very fun and elaborate and feel like we want to go more times, then we could ask them if they would let us come a 3rd time. But I think, yeah, for now, I guess that's a good baseline, and maybe we should think about when we would like to table, because it goes. Do we know? I can't remember when it goes until. I think it goes through September.
I think mid-October. Yeah.
Oh, October. Okay, yeah.
Mid-October.
So maybe like June and September or something like that. I don't know. I guess we could. I don't know if anyone has dates that they would like to do it, but I feel like that would be the next step. Is we should think about around when do we want to do it, or maybe we should think of what do we want to present and how much time is it going to take us to prepare for those events, and then when would we like to. I don't know if they're asking us when we'd like to come when we apply, or if they're going to say like, oh, you want to come twice, here are your dates.
Right. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we say when we want to come.
Okay, great.
Could I just make a reminder about what's involved with
Yeah,
that?
please.
Just in a nutshell, it's a good to come up with something engaging, at least 6 hours of prep. It's a good 6 hours, to set up, sit there for 4, break down for another hour. So I just think people should be aware of that when they're planning, and committing their, more volunteer time.
Yeah, and you don't want to be there alone either, because that's a long 4 hours to sit there alone. And also if you want to, go to the bathroom or stretch your legs, it's, nice to have at least 2 people to like tag out. Ideally, you'd have, maybe 3 with like staggered shifts so that, you're not there the whole 4 hours and, you can also get up. But yeah, I think we'll coordinate that as we get closer.
So because the farmer's market starts in May, will we discuss it at our next meeting? Like, it seems like it would take a little while to do the planning around that together.
If anyone would like to, I guess if there are folks that are interested in tabling or organizing materials, there's nothing stopping us from doing, small, either like, individual or small group, sub quorum, like organizing, so we could get the ball rolling in that regard. But we could also, talk about it next meeting. But yeah, then we are sort of into the farmers market season, but it's also a long season, so if we talked about it in May, we could still, maybe do it in June or July. And then, I think if at least one of these is, focused on non-native or introduced species, then the, one of the latter ones is actually a good one to do, because that's a good time to get people about, invasives, because they're easy to spot. So I don't know. Did you have feelings on what you'd like to see happen next? Are you worried that we're not going to be prepared?
Well, I don't know. I guess I wasn't involved last summer in the farmer's market.
I don't think
But
we did
it's-
it last year. I think we did it 2 years ago, though.
Okay. I guess it sounded like felt kind of compressed in terms of like getting things together for a couple of dates. So I was just wondering, like scheduling wise, how people felt.
Yeah, I think ultimately we need to decide what we want to present so that then we can talk about like timeline and schedule. So I would say because the season's like fairly long, I guess I would encourage people to think about what you might like to do at the farmer's market between now and the next meeting, and then we could have a discussion about it next meeting. And then we can make a decision on which projects we want to move forward with, and we could, like have somebody reach out, that week, to get our dates, our proposed dates out to them. So then I don't think we have time to talk about it today, but I do think we need to be thoughtful about what projects and how much time we think it's going to take so that we're not overcommitting by, throwing them a date that's 3 weeks out and then suddenly we're like, oh no, we don't have time to like get the stuff together. Because, Jeanette did a really good job when she manned the table. I had fun doing it and had some like live examples of invasives that I had like picked, that day to like show people and identify, but it was less organized. And I think we got less engagement because it was just like a bunch of, cuttings of stuff like at a table versus Jeanette had, visual aids and like a little game and stuff, which helped draw people in. So I think the planning piece is definitely important so that we get the most out of it. So does that sound all right if we talk about it next meeting, and folks should be thinking about if they're interested in it, what, how they'd like to participate and what projects they'd like to see presented?
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering if people want to share now if they are interested in it, because maybe that will give us an idea of if we should even do it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm interested. I mean, I've done the sort of invasives, or introduced species one before. Like, I feel like that's something that I know more about, but I'm also pretty flexible. So, I can be sort of a floater. I don't know if I can necessarily do both of them, but maybe. I have like fairly flexible work, so I can definitely agree to do at least one. And like, I guess presenting on invasive species would be my strong suit.
I might be up for one, just gauging how much time I put into that other one, and now we've got these other projects going. I'd really like to, devote a little more time to various neighborhood projects, so those happen pretty much monthly when the weather's right. So, and they, for me, can be pretty time consuming.
Yep, we're doing one. Probably. From what I'm detecting so far, it sounds like it's be partly up to me of what I want to present and talk about, conservation related. One question. Do we ever sell anything?
No, I don't think so.
Just a future idea, I wouldn't be able to get this off the ground now, but could we do a small plant sale? Where we are selling native shrubs for very cheap, so that after you remove some invasives, you put a native shrub in. And people walk up and
Neat idea.
we could start our own little nursery pretty easily.
That would be cool.
Cuttings, or I could, that may be something I would teach about is how to make your own cuttings, but. Or do we give them away?
Well, what we could do is, either I'm almost thinking that if we tried it out and we're selling them for really cheap, or we could just pitch it as like a CRF app thing and just ask the select board for funding to say like we want $500 for cuttings or for native stuff to or something small that we could just kind of prove out, and then if it goes well, then a following year we could basically make it into like a bigger thing. So I think it's a great idea. And I think that sounds really engaging, like educating people on how to, how to take a cutting and to, propagate stuff on your property. And I think that'd be really interesting.
Very cool.
We could spend money soonish. Like if we were to say buy $200 worth of very small, like tube stock from the Intervale. It's like tubes that are like this tall, just a stem sticking out, but they're sprouting. You can put that in the ground in June. And goes well, that thing's a shrub by the following year. And those are pretty cheap to buy, and we could either give them away, because we did it from this, a blank giveaway. Show us, we look at your property together and think about which one would be the best fit, and where these plants would go, why we're doing it.
So is your thought that we would promote this during the farmer's market and then we would do site visits for people who are interested? Or do you think we would ask people to describe their property and then we would try to like guide them based on what they're telling us? Like, do you have do you have a wetland or a stream? Like maybe you take a willow, or, you know, do you have a, this, that, or the other thing? Like, do you know what kind of soil you have? Is it sandy, or is, so we could kind of just do it that way?
Yeah. So that could be proof of concept this year. And then by next year, you're thinking about selling more or growing our own. So I don't know if there's openness to that, something I could think of more. But knowing if we could spend money on it, I could think about getting us those plants. I guess we'd do that in one of the first farmers markets though.
Yeah.
That would be the idea that you're planting those. When does it start? Sorry, June?
It starts in May, but if it sounds like maybe this application would be at the next meeting, if this something to move forward on. I think Chelsea just sent a message about farmers market dates.
You aren't guaranteed to get the days you want, especially as you get closer to the market season. They juggle community tables as well as free youth tables, getting some potential dates from the market so that you can see if and who is available on those dates would be recommended. Thank you, Chelsea.
Okay, maybe I can write you, Sam, separately of what the process would be like if you ask for some money to buy plants.
Yep, yeah, we
Talk
can,
about more next time.
basically write up a CRF application, and we've been doing a few of them, so. Yeah, I think that's a really fun idea, and it's like, it's a cool way to use CRF funds, and I really like the idea of, we've been really focused on trying to remove non-native species, but we haven't really been trying to, repopulate the landscape with, with native stuff, so I think that'd be a really cool approach. That sounds more fun to me than educating people on non-native species, but I would do either, so.
Yeah, let me go ahead and hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you thinking of sourcing them from the Vermont Conservation Nursery?
Interville Conservation Nursery, which who I would be thinking.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. And it's a conservation nursery, part of the umbrella of Intervale, so it's a nonprofit. Good folks there.
You know them, right?
And
Okay.
Great. Open to other sources that we could ask for donations. I mean, there's other cool nurseries around who just end up being the one to give stuff away. I know Winooski and our CD always ends up buying too much and giving stuff away, so we could have our table be a place of, hey, they have plants there. Let's visit those guys.
Nice, yeah, love it. Yeah, we should talk more about that. I mean, I'm not opposed to doing a plant sale too, but like, it might be fun to do like a little giveaway, or like maybe we could do like subsidized, like rather than just, maybe that would be a better pitch, like to the select board, is to say like,
Okay.
we want to promote this and like get, some more natives on people's properties. If you're just giving them away, then, anyone might be like, oh yeah, like I'll grab one. And, I feel like if you charge just a little bit, only people who are actually going to make use of it are going to take it. Whereas if you're just giving them away, I could see a lot of them actually being wasted by somebody who thinks it's a good idea, but it's not really fully committed to doing the work on their end. And we can't really monitor once they're out of our hands, whether or not folks are actually doing the planting. So yeah, let's talk more.
It's a
And
fair point. Pretty often at the meeting, no value to people
yeah.
in our worldview. So yeah, a little
Unfortunately.
bit sick. So we have a way to accept money.
That's a good question. I can ask Josh about it. I'm not sure if we've ever like accepted donations as a conservation commission. It would be interesting to like accept money on top of, like, we already have like the CRF mechanism, which pulls in, tens of thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah.
So it seems kind of funny to like also raise money on top of that, but like, I don't know, I don't see why we couldn't do that and
So
then
you
put
put
it in
the
the conservation reserve fund, or maybe it would end up becoming like some type of like discretionary spending funds that like we could use for stuff that's like, that doesn't require CRF app, so, because sometimes, obviously, CRF funding should only be dispensed if it's in line with the Conservation Reserve Fund and the criteria. And so if we had, RCC money that wasn't tied to the CRF, like I know the ACFC has money that is like their money because it came from logging, I think. So maybe the same thing is possible for this committee or this commission, and that like we would have funds that could be used for something, but I'll have to ask Josh. I really don't know.
Yeah, we could even tell people, it's just, we're gonna put it back into buying more for
Yeah.
a shrub
Yeah.
fund.
Yeah.
It was just, I'm not a social media person, but I was just imagining people like if there was something where they like post where they planted their plant on their land to show how they're gonna be restoring some area, or even like, I know that like it takes a lot to restore a flood prone area, but like people thinking about their properties and flooding, and if they're gonna be planting more trees in certain areas, like that'd be kind of cool.
Yes.
But I know we don't have social media accounts, right, as RCC?
We don't, but we could. I don't have a whole lot of interest in managing a social media account personally. I think that's kind of been one of the reasons why we don't have it, is that nobody really wants to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think there's any reason we can't, but
Except that no one will do it.
except for, yeah, I don't know if there's like a legal reason we can't, but that's another thing that probably would be worth asking Josh about, because we don't want to overstep, and I guess because we are a town, a town committee, we are representing the town. So then if we have our own social media presence, then we're basically we're representing the town. So I think it would be fine. I'm pretty sure the Andrews Community Forest Committee had or has a Facebook and or an Instagram that didn't really get used, but it did exist and nobody seemed to have a problem with it. So I think it's probably fine. I'll put that on my list as well to ask Josh about. Cool. All right, well, let's move on. We are a little behind here, but we can always shuffle things around and maybe do the RFP next meeting, depending on how things go. So moving on to the next item, we have Vermont Master Naturalist project updates and reviewing a CRF application for Phragmites on Route 2. So Susanna, I'll let you run with this one and give your updates and kind of get people up to speed on what's up with the Conservation Reserve Fund application.
Okay, so before I go to the application, I just wanted to walk people through the journey of how I've been researching this. So this was several months ago, I was talking to a wetlands ecologist, and we were talking about different methods like cutting, covering, flooding, and that she was saying that if a combination of the methods have to be used together, and that herbicides typically follow cutting, and that 2 to 3 years of follow-up with those types of treatment is needed. So I was thinking about the patch is on Route 2. It's on the way to Jonesville, kind of in between the VYCC and Jonesville, and it's on like the side of the road towards the river. So that is it's a pretty steep pitch, and I was pretty discouraged at first when I was researching because flooding wouldn't work there. We're not ready to pitch herbicides to people as like to use on private property, and I think even on public land, we're not ready to talk about that as a commission. And so I continued to research. I learned about cattle grazing, which happens out west, I think, prescribed burning, which is an interesting option. And I did see a mention of spading, but I didn't really look into it. I connected with Laura Meyer, she's the Vermont Master Naturalist Coordinator, and she's also on the Williston Conservation Commission. And because there's so much Phragmites in Williston, I asked her if they were working on it. And she said no, but she did forward me a presentation that was put on by the Federation of Vermont Lakes and Ponds by this woman, Annie Dalton, who's a citizen scientist who learned about spading from communicating with this professor named Lynn Short, who's a member of the Ontario Phragmites Working Group. And she developed this method of spading. So basically it's taking flat, and sorry if this is redundant, if I brought this up at the last meeting, but it's taking flat-ended spades that have to stay pretty sharp and bisecting the stalk about a little bit under the soil level from the rhizome, and then removing the plant matter. And also before doing this, it's helpful to cut off the seed heads and bag them. So first cutting them off, bagging them, and then doing the spading and removing that plant matter. There's a little shoot that's coming kind of like right under the soil surface that it's helpful to get at that shoot that becomes photosynthetic. So this woman, Lynn Short, who developed the method, she wrote a paper on, it was studying whether citizen scientist volunteers can effectively learn and utilize the spading technique. And her volunteers removed over 1,700 pounds of Phragmites in Toronto during the study in just 2-hour chunks. And the spaded areas saw a big increase in native plant diversity. And the conclusion was that our results confirm the efficacy of spading regardless of location. In all cases, there was a -% difference in the places where they spaded twice across both years, indicating that that was the most effective method of eradication compared to spading once, cutting, and doing nothing. If the percent difference was not negative, all sites still showed that spading still produced more favorable results. So then I started to think about it as a feasible manual approach and maybe even a pretty effective one, and started to pursue it more. Then I spoke with Annie, who was the presenter of the FOVLAP, Federation of Vermont Lakes and Ponds presentation. We talked about the issues with the slope of the land, when to spade for the most effectiveness, the best materials, etc. And she offered to come in May to look at the plot and teach me the method so that I could teach volunteers and to also help on volunteer days when she's available. And then I also spoke with Mary Walls, who is the organizer of a group called Knot in Hyde Park, which is a knotweed removal group, because they have a pretty successful situation going with their volunteers. And I just wanted to get a feeling for how they got community engagement on a continued basis. They're a really cool group if anyone's interested in looking them up. But she basically said, once you have the information and the tools you need to just start working and don't try to get it perfectly. And then Jeanette and I were on Bruce LeBounty's land, which is the property owner where the Phragmites stand is. The view from his property of the Phragmites is a lot different than from the road. From the road, it looks sparser, and from his property, it's a lot more intense. And what I've learned about Phragmites is that the dead Phragmites forms thatches, which actually helps oxygen flow for the existing plant. So part of the process is removing the dead material so that it's just not doing as well. Anyway, so because I saw during Annie Dalton's presentation how much she was able to remove by herself over several days in the summer, I still feel optimistic about a group of volunteers being able to take it on, even though it looks pretty intense. And anyway, so Bruce LeBounty indicated that he doesn't want Phragmites. He is open to what people want to try. He just needs a heads up when we will be there. And I also spoke with Alicia Daniel, who's my Vermont Master Naturalist instructor, and she is excited about it and wants me to move forward with it. In terms of volunteers, I think that's going to be the big piece, because the more hands, it's going to get done a lot faster. My ideas are reaching out to VYCC, somebody at a neighbor of mine who knows about volunteer engagement recommended Friends of the Winooski as a possibility. As well as local Eagle Scouts who need a final project. I was thinking about reaching out to the like rising high school seniors who might need some hours on their college applications, and also the Vermont Master Naturalist Alumni Network, and some of my cohort has expressed interest in volunteering. And then also I would put up flyers like in the library and post on Front Porch Forum, and potentially would do an informational event at some point. So when we look at the materials request, I created that from speaking with Annie Dalton and researching Lynn Short's protocols for the spading method. So if anyone wants to ask me any questions before we go to the application, I'm ready to answer them, or if you want to look at that first.
I was gonna ask you about if you had reached out to VYCC, but obviously you have, and
Yeah, so I emailed them. I didn't hear anything back, so I need to call them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, and when you do reach out to them, do you think you could ask them about, like, if they have spades that maybe we could rent versus buy?
Uh-huh.
Because they may have, you know, better equipment than what
Yeah.
we might be able to find.
That is a good idea. I'll definitely ask them if they have that type of spade. The ones that Andy recommended are $20. You do need to sharpen them with a file as you go if they get dull, but they're not like super specialized.
Right.
Has anyone here done this method before? I'm just curious, like, if it's like practically how it works. Like, have any of you tried it before?
No, so Annie is gonna teach it to me next month.
I feel like, I don't know, in general, I think we should try it, because I don't know like how well it's gonna work. That's, I guess, my thought on that.
Mhm.
Also with like the slope, doesn't seem super safe with a sharpened tool by like your feet. Because I saw it when we were doing the salamander part, and at least that part, that slope part looked really steep.
Mhm.
I don't know if people want to stand on that and try to dig into it. I don't know. I didn't look at it from above, but it looks pretty steep. That's, I guess, one concern I had, is that like just volunteer safety, also along like the highway.
Mhm.
Or, I don't know,
Experience digging?
with digging, but not with this kind of shovel either. That's why I was kind of like, that was what I wanted to know, if you knew about like the cheaper shovels are better than like a stronger one, like a
Mhm.
thicker metal one. That's why I was curious if having more shovels was better than like less shovels that are thicker steel. Like, I didn't
Can you
know.
say a little more about that?
So like the low shovel is like the cheapest shovel that you can get. And
Mhm.
it's like the thinnest steel you can get. So I didn't know if like a thicker steel shovel would hold the edge better. Do you want to have to sharpen it as much
Mhm.
and like have to stop as much as steel, probably better quality and like hold the edge better?
Mhm.
And would also be heavier, and going into like the soil might actually work better. But also I didn't know if the thinner metal would work better. That's why I wasn't sure like
Yeah,
if you'd done any of this before and like had experience, or if the people you've talked to had tried the different types of spades and that this was just a better one to go the cheap one, and then if it breaks, then it's not a big deal.
well, Annie didn't talk about like, I guess, like cheapness. She just talked about maintaining an edge.
Okay,
But when I talked to her about the slope,
yeah,
she didn't seem to have concerns about that.
okay,
But I also do want to see it with her in person.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, did you say it was next month that you're meeting with her?
she had offered to come in May, yeah,
You know,
with her spade.
Okay.
funny thing today, I was over at a friend's pond and she had a nice spade.
Mhm.
And it was a very heavy spade and steel on the bottom, you know, very thick steel on the bottom, but it was a flat
Yeah,
shovel, spade, whatever you want to call it. But I found the weight of that really works to get that for, you know, the spade itself was the heavier it was, the more effective it would seem.
uh-huh.
I don't have nothing to base it on other than this one heavy spade that she probably paid 30, what, maybe $50 for that spade.
Mhm.
And we took some really, big, reeds out of her pond today with pretty big, balls on the bottom. You
What
know,
kind of
root balls.
reeds?
I don't know what kind they were.
Uh-huh.
They were not, I can't remember. I did look at it on my phone. They were not invasives. They were just pond weeds.
Mhm.
And so we just wanted to see what that spade could do.
Uh-huh.
And I just felt the heaviness of it seemed like it would have been more effective than a lighter
Yeah.
weight spade.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think these are questions I can ask Annie about with like in terms of how did her spade hold up? Because she used it for, I want to say like 30 or more hours
Mhm.
on her own. It wasn't there was some slope where she was, but it was mostly around a pond, so it was mostly flat. But yeah, I guess I don't know for sure, but I want to say I would like to imagine that whatever spades we use, they would probably be able to hold up to that. But I also think it's worth asking VYCC what they have on hand already.
Yeah, and even what they might recommend
Mhm.
too, I mean, because they probably have done this to some degree, I mean, some kind of invasive removal
Mm,
and probably have those types of shovels
Mhm.
and spades there,
Mhm.
but I don't know that for sure. But I
Yeah.
think it'd be worth it to ask them. As long as you're gonna talk with them anyway for volunteer type work. You'd be paid, I mean, when you talk with them, would we be expected to pay? the
Pay VYCC?
As
I didn't
volunteers?
include that on the application. I mean, I don't know. That adds another layer of complexity. Somebody told me that they have training days and that there are some VYCC members that are the most interested in conservation. These could potentially fit into that, the
Hmm.
training days. So once I get a hold of them, I can ask
Yeah,
them about
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So Susanna, when we met with Bruce, I heard him say that it's V-Trans who has the right of way, that whole swamp. Have you had a chance to talk to them?
So what my understanding was that they like are basically there's like a little strip of it that they are in charge of and that he is in charge of the rest.
Mhm.
My partner on the project, Mandy Applin, I think she might be going to reach out to V-Trans, but I have to confirm that with her.
Because one of my thoughts is that it would be important to have some good communication and a partnership with them so that they're not going to continue to recede that bank
Yeah,
after putting hours and hours and lots of dollars into this.
yeah, she is. So she's pursuing the mowing piece of it, which I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
Because I heard Bruce talk about how they have a giant like brush hog that can angle down that steep slope.
Mhm.
And they're on a schedule, so they're gonna rip right through there. There's the thought that part of the reason we're seeing all this poisonous parsnip on the sides of the roads is that it's coming from
The mowers.
the mowers, the
Yeah,
brush hogs.
you can see a little like Phragmites growing like on the way from Jonesville. You can just see these little. It's coming up on the side, and I'm sure that's what it's from. So yeah, that is another part of this.
It seems like that's kind of beginning with the end in mind of saving that wetland. If, it's gonna take 5 years with that many volunteers and that kind of expense for
Mhm.
5 years or more. That we'd wanna know that we've got some assurance
Yeah.
that the bank isn't gonna get continually receded.
One of the things I forgot to mention was that when I talked to Mary Walls, the not in Hyde Park person, they work with their town mowing crew to not spread knotweed. Like So that was really heartening too, because I had imagined that it might be a tricky kind of conversation, and it is different because it's the town mowing versus the state,
Yeah.
but it seemed like more possible.
Got just a couple questions or things to ponder. Sounds like you are both invested in this plant being one, be nice if there was less of it or none of it eventually. And then this particular location, for it to be most successful. I wonder about an easier site to try out these methods. So just as an idea, the more gentle slope along the Richmond Elementary School Camel Summit parking lot. So the parking lot meets the highway slope. It's a workable, visible spot where we could get to it often, not very steep, and try these techniques and even make plots where we compare different techniques. Maybe it's not either or, it's in addition, but if you're interested in that, because the thing I'd be really wary of on a steeper slope is what else is going to grow there? Is it just going to slump and fall apart? And then it's some other type of problem? Could we reseed right after something? Because we want to change the conditions that are that Phragmites is responding to. It's a successful plant because it grows in places that other things don't once we've disturbed these soils. So like on one end, it's a kick-ass, very successful plant doing, actually blocking up soil and sequestering carbon and like doing its thing on that slope. It doesn't know it's not supposed to be here. Who do we want there instead? And I feel like having some answers for that, you might already have them, or just in general long term. Because I think of the same thing when I see this, because my kid goes to RES, I see it every day. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to plant trees on that because I talked to the principal about it because it would obscure the view of the highway, it would block sound. It should have trees. I can't believe no one's already done this. But there's all this Phragmites kind of in the way. So how should we get rid of it? And then what could go there instead right after, a year after? So what you're working on there, like that, we've got other sites where the same thing is likely to be relevant. So
Yeah, I'm definitely, well, I'd have to think about that more. I think this started because it's my neighborhood.
yeah, sure.
And there's a little tiny bit growing in the lily pond, which is a different property. But that, I mean, spading that would be pretty easy, I think, the tiny amount in the lily pond. I would like to think about that more. I definitely see where you're coming from about like trying a different spot first. I think because I've talked to Bruce about it, I kind of want to follow up there and see what that would mean for him if we pivoted sites and wanted to try somewhere else first.
Or we just do the part right by the lily pond and the first 10 feet up from it or something, instead of trying to do the entire hill top to bottom.
Right.
Just ideas like.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm getting rid of all of it on that entire slope.
yeah, there are like, it's like really thick in the middle and then it tapers out on the ends. And so it would be a possibility to try it out on the ends and then see what kind of progress we're making with that. And like seeing based on photos, like if we were to come back next year and try to keep getting at it, what kind of progress was made.
Yeah, and what would maybe have competed with.
Yeah, so
It's never gonna be bare ground. We don't get bare ground here.
with Phragmites, I guess my sense is, and I'd like to talk to some people more about this, but like, I think once so the stands that were studied with the spading method in Ontario, once they started spading them, there was less density and the stems coming back were thinner. So there's just more room within the Phragmites for native plants to start appearing. So that would happen on its own, but would take like a lot of consistent effort over years. Spading is not going to get rid of all of the Phragmites. It's going to be thinning it out, and then letting other stuff start to try to compete. I think Jeanette and I talked about some ideas for native plantings that Bruce would like in that area. So that's definitely an ongoing conversation.
Cool. Do you know how many square feet, like the whole thing is that this occupies that you'd be trying to do?
No, it's a lot though.
'Cause that was my, I guess I was like, it looks kind of big and
Yeah.
then this is, I think, one of the most labor intensive methods to do it.
Yeah,
And I think I think it'd be easier to do something larger when people who are doing it also have some experience doing it.
mhm.
This just seems like the harder project with a steeper slope and like a larger plot. It might be discouraging to people who are new trying to do this volunteering time and being like, I didn't really do anything. Like I don't see a big impact. I didn't make as much progress as I thought I don't know. I don't know how long it's gonna take to do. Like, do you think 2 days, which is I think you have a 2 days like 3 times?
Mhm.
How many hours are you thinking it's gonna, do you like know roughly how many hours it'll take? Like
Well,
equal hours?
so based on what I saw Annie in her presentation
Yeah.
remove on her own, I think, I mean, I'd like to do full days, but let's say 3 hours in the morning and then 2 or 3 hours after lunch. So like pretty full days. I think people will get a lot done. I guess because of what she did and then the paper that I read about the groups in
Mhm.
Ontario, I feel more optimistic about what volunteers would be able to do, even just learning the method like that day. You know, I could have false optimism and it couldn't happen that way, but
And I forget, do you have a pretty good idea of who your volunteers would be? I know you mentioned some groups, but do you know them or already? And,
some of them I know, some of them I don't, but I
Okay.
haven't really started reaching out in earnest
okay,
because
Just-
of not knowing if I would have the supplies.
okay.
So we have a few comments from Chelsea that I'll read. The first being, did the study that you're referencing have comparative data to other methods, such as removing seed heads, then mowing the Phragmites down? What's the benefit to removing with a spade versus mowing?
Should I start there?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so it has comparative data to, let me see. Then cutting, which is the same as mowing, or doing nothing, which was the control method. Can you go back up to
Oh, sure.
questions? So the issues that I've heard about with mowing is that it still leaves the photosynthetic material of Phragmites, so it's still growing, basically, and that sometimes it can even cause the rhizome to spread out because the plant is saying, well, like maybe I'm not successfully shooting up stalks here, so I'll spread this way. Removing with a spade, the benefit is it's not, I guess it's important to say that you're not digging out the plant, you're just bisecting the photosynthetic part right below the soil. So, like with knotweed, you can continuously cut and exhaust the plant, but that's not how Phragmites dies. So that's why spading is more effective. If you're going to mow, you basically have to do smothering with plastic or yard fabric or herbicide afterwards.
We can pivot back and forth. I got some more comments or questions from Chelsea. I guess I'll just go through these and then I'll have you, John, afterwards. Chelsea mentions, if this is a town RCC event, I think you might want to consult with Josh regarding insurance or liability. If they're town-owned equipment, there's inherent liability with volunteers, especially teenagers. The town, for example, did not want to be the owners of the brush hog and trimmer that were purchased. That was for the Richmond Mountain Trails application that we got from Max Krieger on behalf of RMT. Instead, Chelsea says VMT, but I think she might mean RMT or VIMBA. They're a chapter of VIMBA, owns them and carry the insurance for the use of that equipment. I know a sharpened spade is different than a brush hog, but still a potential consideration. And then finally, I'm not sure who's talking about soil stabilization, but I agree with this train of thought. we may be obligated by V-Trans as well as the town's stormwater roads permit to install slope stabilization, jute netting, seeds, and mulch. Thank you for the questions and the comments, Chelsea. And John, did you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, hi. Let me lower my hand first here. I've been watching that Phragmites stand march towards the lily pond for, I don't know, a dozen years now, and I'm really happy to hear someone wants to take it on. I will caution you, well, back when we had the first big funding program for the floodplain forest restoration, we had a public outreach component where we hired someone to do volunteer outreach to get volunteers out to cut. That took a lot of work, and I'll say we hosted a bunch of outings. The best I could get from most people is 2 to 3 hours. After that, they were bored or they were tired or both, and so I'd be very careful about estimating more than that time. I'll say, in every year for the last 15 years, I've worked with middle school students to do digging. They certainly have more energy, but they flag out at about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and they require a cookie break or two. So I guess I would encourage you to go out and test it with a few people, see how much you can cover in an hour, and then and have some local, a local idea of how much time and capacity you'll need from people. Because if you don't have people lined up and saying they'll be there, you could be stuck holding a bunch of shovels.
Yeah, I appreciate those suggestions a lot, and I would have like a sign up for this. I think, yeah, maybe having shorter days, but also people having different tasks that they can switch from. So like cutting the seed heads, measuring the plots beforehand to see how much is removed, bagging up the plant matter and spading. There might be other tasks. And then at the end, the washing off boots and equipment and everything. So I hope with some different tasks and maybe a rotation of tasks that there would maybe be a little more energy or enthusiasm, or although I'm not sure. But John, as an aside, have you gotten my emails?
Yeah, and I've responded to them.
Oh, really? Okay.
Usually the day I get them.
I'm not getting the responses, so I'll try to follow that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, like I said, it really helps for your planning purposes to try it here first, and back to, for what it's worth, VYCC has great tools. They're strong. They last years, but they're generally only available until mid-May, and then again in September. Usually they need them all in the field in the summer. I mean, a dozen maybe or so, or half a dozen might be available at times in the summer. It depends how many crews they have out.
Do you know if that's true on the weekends too?
On the what?
On the weekends?
So they often they have their crews head out to state parks, to different places around the state, and they load them up with equipment. And there are some weekday crews, I believe, but most head elsewhere. So they have a person or two that manages their tool collection, and they probably have it all scheduled out and can give you an idea of what they'll have and when. But I use their stuff every year when we're planting trees or doing knotweed work with kids.
Okay, thank you.
Trevor?
I ordered a 12 gauge version, like the thicker steel version of the spade, just to try doing this, like with this project, so that you can see how it works.
You just ordered
Like,
it?
yeah, like 2 days ago
Oh.
because of this. So I was like, I'm gonna order a thicker one, like a heavy one,
Mhm.
and then we can compare it, use that as one of the comparison tools.
That's really awesome. Thank you.
So I don't know, I just because I was like, I might use this, so then I'll have something because I picked up like the Home Depot version of what you were looking at, and I was like, I don't want to use this.
Mhm.
And so I was like, and they don't sell what I wanted at Home Depot, so I just ordered one from somewhere online.
Okay,
So, so then I can at least see like, is this any better? Or is it
yeah.
feel different or work
Feel like
differently? Because I didn't, the one that was at Home Depot, I was like, I don't think I'd be annoyed at this tool
Mhm.
trying to do
It
anything with
felt
it.
too flimsy.
Yeah, it's very light and not, it also will flex a lot because the metal's not very thick and it,
Probably wouldn't sustain, it probably wouldn't hold up a
Mhm.
lot to.
so like the reviews on Lowe's for that one were like, it works
Mhm.
great in loose soil and like not, I was like, I don't know what the soil's like here, but if it's like rocky or compacted in any way, I don't know if I want to use that because it doesn't have much weight to like help. Otherwise, you're the weight
Mhm.
and you end up doing a lot more work trying to use it.
I kind of like what you were saying about your
Yeah.
first aid.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it was much heavier, it felt solid and it was a good spade.
Yeah.
That's gonna sustain.
A couple of other things that I didn't put on the materials request are, we'd need like some big cutters just to cut up the plant material to bag them. And also my neighbor has a pickup truck and I think he will help out. I think that's like pretty sure about that. But
Can you burn them on site?
I
Because I think like over half your budget is bags.
know it's a ton of bags, right? Yeah, so
Could you just pile it up and burn it?
I don't know about
The
that.
bucket and
I'd need to look into that more. I think it really depends on what the property owner wants and, you know, what's going on during this, like how dry it
yeah,
is.
maybe it's a burn ban, you can't. I was just trying to think of like saving like extra effort of driving it all. Look, because if you load it to a pickup truck, you then when you get there have to unload it. Whereas if you had like a dump trailer, you could just dump it all into a dump trailer, put the cover on it, drive there, dump it, and you don't have to unload it manually when you get there,
Yeah,
which is what you have to do if you go to the place on Redmond Road with a non-dumping thing. And then you're
Yeah.
also blocking the entire access to like one of the ways in to dump the stuff because you're manually unloading it and everyone else is coming in with trailers.
yeah.
I'm also wondering because looking at the
I've done this before, so
yeah, looking at the CRF app, I did notice that the most expensive thing on there was the bags,
Yeah.
which are, not reusable, right? Presumably, or would you?
It's what I think that composting facility requires you to bring plant material in.
Oh, so you can't just come with a trailer and dump it. You would have to put it in the bag.
you can't leave it in plastic bags. If you can leave it in those paper bags because they'll compost,
Okay.
but you could
got it.
dump them,
Are
but
you talking about the Williston one?
Mhm.
Because when we did our projects, I communicated with them and they said, you don't need bags, just bring it over and dump
It's
it.
not plastic.
you can't use
bags, I
plastic
guess.
bags. But if you're leaving the bag there, it has to be that bag. And you can reuse the bags having like, but if you're doing wet things in them, they will degrade really quickly. You won't be able to use it very much.
I guess okay, so the dump trailer, that I have no idea how to, I mean, that would just be a rental or
Yeah, I don't have access to one right now, but I used to.
So it might be more expensive than
That might be- yeah.
paying $500 for a bag
That's
for
why-
bags versus like renting a
I
dump.
mean, I know
trailer.
people have them, whether they would do want to do, I have to ask them.
If I
And then
could add, I'm sorry, one, you could check with Bruce LeBounty about a trailer. Another is just to put a post on Front Porch Forum to see if someone wants to help out with one. If the bags aren't required, I would suggest considering getting large tarps, wrapping stuff up in the tarps and moving them that way. It's a lot less time, a lot lower costs, and much easier to unload later, and you can reuse them.
Otherwise, you have to cut everything up small to fit in the bags, and it takes a long
Yeah.
time to do that.
About that. So Jeanette, when you brought stuff, it wasn't in bags at all. It was
We
just,
used tarp method.
okay.
I don't ever use bags.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe you would want a few bags for the seed heads and then that would be it, and then you could have reusable, yeah, either the tarps or like a dump trailer or whatever for the rest. And then that way you're spending less time cutting, you're spending less time bagging and hauling.
The tarps will work in the back of the truck too.
John, a couple questions about, John, do you have any familiarity with the projects you've done in the past with anything we should be aware of working on someone's private land? Like, is this board, happy to fund things on someone's private land? Because you've worked mostly on the public land.
I focus almost primarily on public land. We included a couple pieces of private land in there with willing participants, but they were small subsets. If this is seen as an application specifically to do one project on private land, I think some people may be upset of how public money is being used. So I don't know. What I saw in the application was it looks like just 1 year of work. I'm not sure what the follow through will be and if the tools can be used elsewhere. But I would just be careful with how that's presented.
Okay, I tried to indicate in the application that it would be used for subsequent years. And that the spades would be owned by the town, so they could be used for other projects, and that this could serve as a pilot project, which I guess is kind of like to Trevian's point, is this the best plot?
Yeah.
Could we start with the sides of this plot maybe and see how it goes and then take on other ones? But I can expand on that in the application if it's not clear.
Yeah.
Are you committing to doing multiple years of this, or just the one?
I am committing to multiple years of one plot, and then if other people are interested in expanding to other plots, I could help support them in learning about it.
Sounds reasonable.
Is the pond like that you're concerned, like the lily pond, is that couldn't like get I guess the one on the side of the road, is that moving towards the pond? Is that the direction?
I think that
Or is it, I don't know.
it's going in both. So he said it's spreading like this. It's going in both directions.
Side of this?
The pond is over here,
Okay.
and the pond probably is from a mower. Like, because it's not contiguous with the stand. If that makes sense. It's like
Right, so-
stand and then pond.
So my other question for John was, do you have experience working with V-Trans?
A little bit. You want to talk to the regional, land, or I forget, mowing manager person and see what they can do. V-Trans is very protective of its schedule because they have so many miles of roads to do. And with the Fish and Wildlife Department, we tried to work with them to adjust mowing regimes and timing. And it's one of the hardest conversations we have with them yearly. And they rarely bend. But, if they could, it may be that that section of Route 2 is scheduled to be cut right at the time you need it. But you'll need to find out from them. They could probably tell you almost to the date when it will be cut.
I also wondered,
if I could just back up one piece, if you cut it before the seed heads fully form, you don't have to worry about bagging it because the seeds are not yet viable. So timing is also helpful there.
I was just also wondering if you had to, because you've battled these invasives for years here. So have you ever had conversations with them about not reseeding the banks?
I've never had to have had that conversation. And if you're not digging everything up, it sounds like with the spade, you're just cutting some stuff. You're not digging all the roots out. So it's not going to cause immediate erosion or anything. I would think that again, not having seen the practice, just from what it sounds like, it doesn't sound like it's going to all of a sudden set loose a whole bunch of loose soil.
All right, folks. So I'm looking at the time, and we're close to just a few minutes away from 9 p.m. I think there's been really good discussion here. I guess I would like to make a proposal, which is I think that there's been a lot of really good comment and there's been a lot of good questions. Like I'm really impressed with the amount of thought that you've put into this and also all the thoughtful questions. And I feel like I know that there's a scheduling component for this and wanting to do this within a certain period of time because you want to hit it, in June and then again in what it was a July and then late August or September. I'm thinking that considering the number of questions we have, I think that it would probably make sense to postpone making a motion to approve this application simply because I think there's a lot of opportunity to do a number of things. Like it sounds like you were going to meet with, was it
Annie?
Annie.
Mhm.
And then Trevor bought his spade. We could talk about potentially would it make more sense to do something at the middle school. I think there's the liability component. I think there's enough questions here that there are, I think, going to be concerns raised by the select board that I'm not sure, what their opinion is going to be. And I think that between now and in the next meeting, there are a number of things that we could do to just think about some of these pending questions to really refine this to something that I think is more of a slam dunk. And I don't know, I guess I'm curious what other people feel, but I think that it's promising and I'm excited about the project. But I think there's, especially considering the time and the number of questions, some of which are unresolved, I'm just not certain if it's sounding to me like we're at a point where people are ready to vote on this, but I guess I could be wrong. If somebody.
Well, it sounds like, the application itself might need to be updated, like without bags, if I'm doing tarps and needing to look into a dump trailer and also needing to look into VUICC equipment, it could pretty substantially change.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's part of what I'm thinking here is it seems like there's a lot of unresolved questions here about, approach, and that might change the funding. And because of that, I feel like that makes it hard to vote on something that might change,
Yeah.
in the next month, as we learn more information about what other information might be available. If you don't want to, I'd be happy to reach out to, Josh about, owning the equipment and the liability stuff, because that is a great question. Maybe my thought looking at this application was oh yeah, the town owning this stuff is better because we're not basically just buying equipment for private citizens, but they might not want that at all because of the liability component. And so there are probably a few things that we might want to iron out. And I feel like we have a really good list of questions here that we can just kind of go off and check off all the boxes. And I think that if we can do that, then we'll be in a really strong position or you'll be in a really strong position to, present that to the select board. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that would set this project up for success in a way that.
Be in the second half of May if presuming it went forward.
Yeah, so if I just look at the calendar real quick, it would be, so the next Conservation Commission meeting would be May 12th. And then the following select board meeting.
Do they always take it the next one?
They don't always, but
they didn't.
What's that?
When Bob's.
That's true. For Bob's, they didn't. And on the 18th, they are doing the appointments. I don't know how long it takes them to do all of the appointments of people to their various committees. They usually run right through pretty quickly. So I don't know if I could, if you can really reserve time, without knowing the outcome of next meeting. I don't think I could tell Josh hey, can you block out 15 minutes on the 18th for RCC, not knowing whether or not we will have an application or a topic for their agenda. So they might pick it up on the 18th, which is 1 week later. But then the one after that is June 1st. So then, yeah, if it was not approved until June 1st, options would be, if you're confident enough that you think the select board would vote on it, then, you could move forward and go for reimbursement, but obviously it's like, $1,000 and not something that you want to sink a bunch of money into to then find out that the select board's not a fan and they're not going to fund it, right? So, it would push the approval out between, the 18th of May and June 1st by the time that they'd see it. So I know they just compressed the timeline. Do you know, like, for the June cutting, does it have to happen at the beginning of June? Is it like any time in June?
I think it's mid-June, but I have to ask Annie.
Okay,
about that.
gotcha.
I can't attend the June 1st meeting if it were to happen then.
Okay, gotcha. That might, I guess, that might help your cause in terms of, if we made a decision next RCC meeting, and then I emailed Josh that night and said, hey, we'd like to approve this. There is a timeline for the project and you won't be around on the 1st.
Mhm.
There are, mechanisms for even holding, I don't think the select board would hold a meeting on behalf of this on its own, but, you can hold meetings with less warning if it's something that's, like an arising matter, right? Same thing with like bringing things up during agendas. If it's something that is time sensitive, then there's usually a bit more, like deference to those types of things. So, or more flexibility. So it could very well be that it would not be an issue to put, 10 minutes on the select boards, or 15 minutes or however much time they want to review the application, on their agenda. So, I mean, obviously can't make any promises because I don't know exactly how all that scheduling works. But I do feel like right now, based on the discussion, like the pending questions, like it just seems like it would be advantageous to try to burn through that list of questions and to do a little bit more, research and to see if we can't come up with something that, maybe I'm not sure if it needs to be, site specific, if maybe, considering things like the middle school as well, or like, I don't know, just taking a step back to see if we can, make adjustments so that it's, most likely to be funded and successful. It feels like just a tiny bit rushed at the current moment.
Yeah, I agree. I really appreciate everyone's thoughts and comments and questions, helping me think through it.
Well, I appreciate your patience with this, and I apologize that I didn't allocate more time for that. I think, we had the RFP invasive RFP on here. It's in the packet now, so everyone's got a copy of it. In the meantime, folks have comments and they want to look at the version. I got some great comments from Bob Lowe on it already. Maybe Trevor and I will get together, kick it around a little bit more and integrate some of those. But if you want to take a look at the current version, that most of the credit goes to Trevor, but I did a little bit of work on it as well. And then hopefully we can talk about that next meeting. And with that, one thing I would like to mention before we close out the meeting tonight is that I will not be available on the 12th. So I have to run my neighborhood road association meeting because I'm the president. So I can't, and I guess you'll be busy too. You're supposed to be at that meeting as well.
Move our meeting?
True.
So I'm suggesting that we move our meeting. I guess, if we're thinking about this situation with
Move the road meeting.
we could, I could ask, there are more people that need to attend that road meeting than this meeting.
True.
So I was thinking that the body that has less members, it would probably be better to get less people to shift their schedules around. I would propose that if we switched, I don't know if anyone has any Cinco de Mayo plans, but if we switched our meeting from the second Tuesday next month to the first Tuesday next month, that would also give a larger window if we end up talking about the CRF application. That's 2 weeks before the select board meeting, which, means that if we vote to approve that CRF application, it gives a bigger window and advance notice to the select board to potentially put that on their agenda. So I don't know. I also don't have to run the meeting. If somebody else wants to, if you guys want to meet on the 12th and do it without me, that's fine too. Or I can see if I can move it, but I would prefer not to have to get, you know, somewhere between, I don't know, we have what, 22 households with 2 people per household. I mean, not all those people show up, but it's a big group of people, so it'd be a lot less convenient for me to have to get everyone in the neighborhood to move that.
I vote for
Is it?
keeping you
Okay.
I'm fine with
somehow,
that.
if you guys can change the other, I don't know, maybe you'll look into
I
that.
can look into it, but I guess my question is like, could we meet in 3 weeks on the 5th? Like, is that a scheduling conflict for anyone?
Could we do that next one, like not the second, but the third?
Well, the 3rd would then be after the 18th, which does present a potential issue. That means that it, you know, if we're talking about this CRF application.
It has to be on a Tuesday. It can't be on a different.
Well,
day
I
that week.
suppose that's a good question. I do have an ACF meeting, I believe, on the 11th, but I suppose we could.
Wednesday or Thursday that week. Can people do that?
I assume, I don't know, I have to just look at my schedule, but I assume I could.
I can't do it if it's planning commission day,
Do you know what days of the week they meet?
Wednesday,
Okay,
two Wednesdays of the
Yeah.
month, because my wife's on the planning commission. so-
gotcha.
And do Thursdays.
You do Wednesday. Wait, you're saying you can't do Wednesday?
Not Wednesdays that are planning commission meetings, so May 6th
Yeah.
and May 20th. Couldn't do.
Okay, so
I was looking to see when they were,
I think either the 13th.
because that's my day to
Is
be.
there a Monday before it? When you don't have an ACF meeting?
That would be the 4th.
I can't do Mondays.
No, I mean the Monday before when we were supposed to meet.
It sounds like the 13th, which is a Wednesday, can maybe work because that's not a planning commission day.
Yeah.
Yep,
Oh, that's great.
Do we want to do that?
Yeah.
13th?
Okay.
Okay, great. Sounds like that's the only date that I've heard so far that everyone seems to be okay with, so.
where are we gonna meet?
But I wouldn't move it on like about that.
Okay.
It's not a DRB meeting day. Is it-
Okay, so then our next meeting we'll do the 13th.
So we'll have
unless
to be
otherwise,
not here then, because that's a DRB day
that the DRB meets.
on the third, yeah.
Okay.
Can we
Just
meet
right
that
here.
night?
We'd have to meet some other room. but-
Oh, that's fine. I mean, ACF has met in the clerk's conference room before on multiple occasions. It's real cozy in there. We might not want to be in there, but yeah, this room's fine. And, you know, we've had 3 meetings in the building before, so. Okay, well, we're 10 minutes over, so if anyone would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Anyone like to second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
I'll see you on the 13th.